Shabbat Shalom!
And welcome to the Way of Truth through Torah. And here we go with Jerome. Hallelujah!
That is good.
Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all of your heart, and with all of your being, and with all of your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahweh your Elohim brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Ishak, and to Yaakov, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of goods which you did not fill, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. And you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on guard, lest you forget Yahweh, who brought you out of the land of Israel, from the house of bondage. Fear Yahweh your Elohim, and serve him, and swear by his name. Amen and amen. All right and all right, huh? Okay, welcome. Let me get my chair situated. Sorry, guys. So welcome, and welcome back to the Way of Truth. We're going to have fun today. We're back into favorite parts of Torah portion. And today is what? Ahare.
Arema.
Arema. Ahare, arema. And what does that mean? After the death. You know, guys, something that's really interesting is that after the death of who? Hello, Nadab and Abihu is what it's really talking about. But what's interesting is that we've been through a whole lot of chapters since then, haven't we? So it's really interesting. Yeah, and now we're back to them. So let me tell you, my interpretation of that is that everything in between their death and the guard that, whoops, I'm not even in the right place. And 16 pertains to the death, right? That would just kind of be a logical explanation, because suddenly it says, in Yahuwah spoke to Moshe after the death of the two sons of Aaron as they drew near before Yahuwah and died. So what all did they talk about? We've been talking about leprosy, discharge, uncleanness. We've talked about circumcision. We've talked about the eating laws. That allows you to draw near to Yah. Without that, guys, what are you? You're abominable. You can't draw near to him when you're not eating food, when you're eating things that are not food. You can't draw near to him because he can't be around the abominable.
What chapter was it?
10. It was in 10. It was right before the food laws. And immediately after Nadab and Abihu died, got turned into crispy critters, what happened? Yah said, don't drink and enter my sanctuary. Don't partake of alcohol. Don't come near unless you've been asked to come near. And only Aaron was to come near. So there were really, he set up all of the rules, and then he goes, after the death, we proceed, right? I want to take a little bit of a turn, because when we get there, you're going to see why I'm doing this. But I want to talk about the Word of Yah, and I want to talk about it now, because we have a lot of people who will come on, they will watch for a little while, then they'll go bye-bye. And this is important. What we're going to talk about right now is that the Word of Yah does divide, right? And it divides. It divides people. In 18, we're going to be talking about the Word of Yah and the importance of following it. And guys, listen, well, let's go to scriptures, because I want us, man, let's pray Valerie, would you open us in prayer, please?
We just come to you in the precious name of Yahusha, that name that is above all other names, authority in that name.
Yes.
So we just praise you today and honor you. And as we come together in a call, we ask that whatever's spoken here will be straight from you, from the Ruach HaKodesh. We will just, as Vicky said earlier, fill this room, that he will be the teacher. And we just ask that those listening on live stream will hear the spiritual ears.
Yes.
That it will touch hearts and change hearts, because only you can do that. Nothing we say, but it's through your word. And so we just praise you today and honor you and give you all glory, because it's all about you.
That's right.
And so we just ask that you do a great and mighty work today, because that's what it's all about. We praise you and we honor you in the precious name of Yahusha.
Amen. What a powerful prayer. Thank you. That was a good prayer. Every prayer's good, because every prayer is talking to who? Abba Yah. And so all prayer is good. So guys, I want to hit this, and then you're going to see why when we hit chapter 18. And again, we're trying to cut back on the amount of time that we're spending on Torah portions. You should be, and live streamers, y'all should be as well. Hello, Miss Max, you better be on your way. Come on, Misty, get here. Huh? She said she's on her way. So, guys, we're going through 16, 17, and 18 today, and we're going to hit portions of each so that we can cut back on the time. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the Word of Yah. I want you to go to Matthew 10. And the class didn't know I was going to do this. So, class, I want you to speak up, add to, whatever you need to do. This is our Savior. This is our Redeemer, our soon-coming King that is speaking here in Matthew 10:34. Do not think I have come to bring peace on earth. This is our Messiah that came as the Lamb. 34. Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division. A man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are those of his own household. Guys, we are seeing that today. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. I also want to take us to John, 2 John. Guys, what do those verses speak to you? Yes, sir.
There's also, you can find that same verse in Malachi 4:6.
Read it. So it's also in, Yahusha is actually repeating what is in the Tanakh. Go ahead, Jerome.
And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with utter destruction.
Okay, so the hearts that have been turned and divided, he is going to reunite. That will be during the millennial period. But guys, right now, there's a division. There's a division amongst friends. There's a division amongst families. And everyone in this room knows that. Because we are following truth. And let me tell you, nobody wants to hear truth. Nobody. What's wrong with truth? Who is truth? Yahusha, our Savior. Also known, for you guys on live stream, also known as Jesus. He is our Savior.
He is the way, the truth, and the life, in John 14:16. That's
right, and He is the Word. That's what John 1:1 says. Go to 2 John, and we're going to be reading 5 through 11. There's only one chapter, 2 John 1. I'm starting in verse 5. And now I ask you, Korea, which means a holy woman, Not as though I wrote a fresh command to you, but that which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. And that is a law that is easily found in Leviticus. That we love one another. And when was that law given? In the beginning. What's the beginning of what? The Torah. The beginning of the Word in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament. In verse 6, and this is the love, that we walk according to his commands. This is the command, that as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. Walk it out. Because many who are leading astray went out into the world who do not confess Yahusha Messiah as coming in the flesh. The one is he who is leading astray and the anti-Messiah. See to yourselves that we do not lose what we worked for, but that we might receive a complete reward. Everyone who is transgressing and not staying in the teaching of Messiah does not possess Elohim. I'm going to repeat that. Everyone who is transgressing and not staying in the teaching of Messiah does not possess Elohim. Oh goodness. The one who stays in the teaching of Messiah possesses both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him in your house, nor greet him. For he who greets him shares in his wicked works. God, this is a stern warning that you shouldn't be really spending a whole lot of time, unless you're trying to be a light in the world, but shouldn't be really covenanting with people who are not in agreement with the Messiah coming, and that there's a walk to be worked on, right? Okay. Having much to write to you, I did not wish to do so with paper and ink, but I expect to come to you and speak face to face, so that our joy might be complete. The children of your chosen sister great greet you. Amen. And this is John. Who is John?
Beloved Yahusha.
Why? It's his best friend, isn't it?
He entrusted his mother to him at the stake.
That is exactly right. He looked down from the stake and he said, behold, son, this is your mother. Behold, mother, this is your son. He's basically saying, I'm not going to be here. You take care of my mama, right? That's a good son. So guys, what do we understand from Matthew and John? First of all, there's a walk to be walked, and this walk is the Word, and this Word brings division, right? Okay, I want us to go, first of all, let me ask, why is no one doing it? Why does nobody want to do it? Why does no one, when you're meeting old friends on the street and they say, hey, let's go get a ham sandwich, and you say, I can't do ham anymore. It's not food. Well, we're not under that law anymore. Why? Why is suddenly Yah's commandments taboo and evil? I actually heard a preacher say this week that it's making light the blood of our Messiah if you're following his commands. How like, where are these people coming from? Under what rock have they crawled that they haven't read the Old Testament and they don't understand?
Not allowed to think that works is not how you attain salvation. It's by grace.
Did we not just read in John?
We must be obedient also.
That we must be. He said, we're to get the reward. See to yourselves that we do not lose what we worked for, but that we might receive a complete reward. Not just a tiny reward. John says, I'm going for the full reward. What does Paul say? He's going for the full reward. Everybody wants that reward. I want that reward. Everyone in this room wants that reward. That's why we're walking the walk and talking the talk. Guys, there's a purpose behind this, and it's not to look at the others and go, look at us. It's to be a light to the world, and we're not to be flaunting it or arrogant about it.
We're to be set apart.
We are to be set apart. Let's look at Jeremiah. We are his peculiar people, Valerie. That is so important. Which means that we're not going to fit in. And we don't.
And that's the problem. We're so used to wanting to fit in with everything what's going on. And it's hard to get out of that mindset to be different.
Yes.
And to stand up for what is right.
Absolutely. It is very hard. We're in Jeremiah 11, and we're going to read 6 through 8, and it is going to be on page 479 of the Scriptures. And Yahuwah, let me make sure I'm in the right. Yep. And Yahuwah said to me, proclaim all these words in the cities of Yehudah and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, hear the words of the covenant and do them. Do them, right? For I earnestly warned your fathers in the day that I brought them up out of the land of Mitzrayim until this day, rising early in the morning, saying, obey my voice. But they did not obey or incline their ear, but everyone walked in the stubbornness of his heart. So I brought on them all the words of this covenant which I commanded them to do, and they did not do. And Yahuwah said to me, there is a conspiracy among the men of Yehudah and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They have turned back to the crookedness of their forefathers, who refused to hear my words, and they have gone after other mighty ones to serve them. The house of Yisrael and the house of Yehudah have broken my covenant I made with their fathers. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, see, I am bringing evil on them which they are unable to escape, and then they shall cry out to me, but I shall not listen to them. What does the word say, Valerie, about the prayers of a righteous man? Of a righteous man. Yah hears the prayers of a righteous man.
But the unrighteous
he does not hear.
It's about 6 different places. I mean, you have to identify who righteous is, and that's in Deuteronomy 6:25.
And it is our righteousness that we guard and do all of his commands.
Guard and do.
That it is an action word, right? Okay, look at Ezekiel 20. Then I'm going to get off this little soapbox.
I just don't understand why. I mean, we know that Yah says in Malachi that I change not, and Yahusha says, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever, I change not. So what makes us think that the front of the book is done away with, that these things that he said we don't do anymore?
You don't even need the front of the book. You can go to the back of the book. You can go to the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, and there's no place in the Brit Hadashah that it says, I came to do away with the law. In fact, let's just hit that really quick, since we're speaking about it, and go to Matthew.
Last year, you pulled up the Revelation 4:17, where it's those who have the word of our Heavenly Father and the testimony of Yahushua who will be allowed to enter the gates.
People don't want to hear that. You mean, what do you mean? I've got to be obedient to something? I've got to do something? Guys, listen, I'm sorry. Hey, Bill, how are you? Oh, I'm sorry, it's a French sleeve. Handshake, hand wave. Okay, so guys, listen, Matthew 5, and I'm going to read 17. I'm going to start in 16. I like this one. Let your light so shine before men so that they see your good works. Let your light, what are we to be in this world? Light. We're to be salt. Let me tell you, on some people, that salt is like rubbing it into a wound. It brings division. Let your light so shine before men so that they see your good works. And praise your Father who is in the heavens. Abba Yah is in the heavens. Why do we think that we don't have to obey his commands, yet we honor our earthly fathers? Guys, listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a genius to understand that the same rules that apply to us on this earth apply to us in dealing with our Abba Father, Yahuwah. Guys, listen, he's our daddy. He gave us a set of commandments. Obey them. Do them. Walk them out.
That's what the good works is.
That is right. Okay, and Yahusha goes on to say, do not think that I came to destroy the Torah, the law, the commandments, the instructions for living the perfect life, or the prophets. Don't think that I came to destroy any of this. I did not come to destroy, but to complete, to show you he is a walking, talking, living, breathing Torah. He is the commandments. He is the only one that was here after Adam and Eve sinned. He sent his word to deal with us sinners. He was the one that gave the commandments on Mount Sinai. From his mouth they came. From his finger he wrote them. That's right, Jerome.
And the reason being is Yahuwah, God, said he couldn't look upon sin after Adam and Eve, so that shows you that it was Yahusha.
Yeah. Well, and he also said, I can't even be around abomination.
Right.
If you don't clean up this camp, kids, I'm going to get out of here. This is what he told them in the wilderness.
Yes.
Clean it up.
And
No filthiness inside this camp, because this is where I stay. Okay. In 18, for truly I say to you, till the heaven and the earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah until all be done. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called least in the reign of the heavens. But whoever does them and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reign of the heavens. I want to tell you guys, I'm pretty ticked today because I have seen too much this week of division, and it is because we are being obedient to his commands.
yeah.
We are being obedient, and what is it going to bring? Division. Okay, well, I got off right there. Let me go back over here to Ezekiel 20, and we're going to read 18. And I said to their children, and this is on page 547, and I said to their children in the wilderness, do not walk in the laws of your fathers. What did our fathers teach us, guys? I'm looking at y'all. What's Christmas? What's Easter? What's the greasy grace doctrine? It's traditions. It is traditions that have been handed down generation to generation to generation, and the traditions of men have nullified the Word of Yah. They have killed it. They have done away with it. You might as well get rid of the whole Old Testament, because if you're following the traditions of men, it doesn't apply. That's what we've been taught. It's no good.
Those create emotions.
They do.
I mean, good emotions. It makes me feel good to do these things. I mean, we all can say that because...
I wish.
And that's what the enemy plays on.
How many of us in this room wish that it would be that simple, that, hey, you just say a prayer, and guess what? You repent, you say a prayer, repent of what, though? Because if the Torah's been done away with, what do you repent of?
Right.
It's a vicious little circle you go around there. I'm like, whoa. But how many of us in this room would not love for it to be so, that the doctrine of grace will apply to us? I would love for that to be so.
Too easy?
But it just doesn't float. Guys, from the beginning of the book to the end, you're not going to find anywhere where it is going to be done away with, nor has it been done away with. Okay, so we're walking in the laws of our fathers that they created and they made up, and they pulled out of some magician's hat somewhere along the road, because it's not in my scriptures, and it's not in the NIV, and it's not even in the Message Bible. Listen, you can't find it in any of the Word where he has done away with the law, unless they've distorted. Oh, and they do that. They do distort the Word. But do not walk in the laws of your fathers, nor observe their rulings, nor defile yourselves with their idols. What, like a Christmas tree or a egg-laying bunny? I'm just saying, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, walk in my laws. Guard my right rulings and do them. Guys, we have to be actively pursuing him. And to draw nearer to him, you've got to be an obedient child, or he doesn't want to be close to you. Does he still love you? Absolutely. Does he desire that anyone die without salvation? No. He wants for all to be saved. But is that going to be the case? It's not. The path is wide to the graveyard. The path to the kingdom is narrow, and it's for a reason. There are few. Everyone's called at some point in their life, and we're going to hit that in a second. Everyone's called at some point in their life, but few answer the call. Very few. In fact, in the fourth book of Ezra, it says that the path is so narrow that only one man or woman can walk it at a time. It's that narrow. It's a narrow path, guys. It's a lonely path, isn't it, sometimes? I'm so glad that we've got family here. Okay, I'm going to read that one again. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, walk in my laws, guard my right rulings, and do them, and set apart my Sabbaths. Oh, wait, that's number 4 of his commandments. Why do we refuse? How many people that know that you're worshiping a God they say, oh yeah, I know that the Sabbath is Saturday, but we changed it to Sunday. Nowhere in the Word does it say that anyone has the authority for them to change the Sabbath to Sunday. Nowhere. Nowhere. The Roman Catholic Church did, and it was for the sun worship of the sun god. Okay? And they say, oh, look at all the churches in the United States and around the world that follow our ruling to change Shabbat to Sunday. Look around the world and look at all these churches. That shows that we had authority to do it. How many churches don't even understand that they're worshiping and following the Roman Catholic guidelines for Shabbat? Okay, so he says, set apart my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign. You want a sign? I'm going to tell you something. Hasatan has a sign for his followers, doesn't he? And I think we're going to be seeing that fairly soon. But he said, set apart my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you to know that I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. But, this is a sad but the children rebelled against me, and they did not walk in my laws. And my right rulings they did not guard to do them, which if a man does, he shall live by them. Shaul, Paul repeats this. He repeats this. If you do his commandments, you'll live by them. You'll live. Without them, you die. You perish. They profaned my Sabbath, so I resolved to put out my wrath on them to complete my displeasure against them in the wilderness. But I held back my hand and I acted for my name's sake, not to profane it before the eyes of the nations, before whose eyes I had brought them out. Also, I myself lifted my hand in an oath to those in the wilderness to scatter them among the nations and disperse them throughout the lands, because they had not done my right rulings and they rejected my laws, and they profaned my Sabbaths, and their eyes were on their fathers' idols. And I also gave them up to laws that were not good, and right rulings which they would not live by. Ooh. The laws that he gave them up to were not good, and right rulings by which they would not live. You live by the Torah, you die by the laws of man. Yes, sir.
What people fail to understand is that Torah is the foundation rock which all the scriptures built on top.
Yes.
And they want to get rid of that foundation rock, and they're building their houses upon sand instead of that rock which Yahusha says that we should build on. And just by doing that alone, they're nullifying their doctrinal beliefs, their religious beliefs, all their spiritual beliefs, because they're doing away with what makes it solid and strong.
Yes. The doctrine of grace is built on absolutely nothing. Listen, it is his grace that allows us to walk this walk. Without it, we couldn't walk it.
And when I was young, I remember when I was a Christian, they bring you up, teaching you grace is all, and they'll teach you little Bible tips. They'll water it down a whole bunch.
Yes.
Like you won't even get the full message out of it. And even as an adult, you don't get the full message of it when you're going to Sunday school.
Yes.
Or whatever,
Yes.
So it's really hard to even understand what Scripture was really telling you.
That's right.
But they had like a pre-written study of what we should be studying.
That they sent out to all of
it.
their churches. If it was a Baptist church, all the Baptist churches were teaching that one lesson that day. Methodist, all the Methodist church. So, yeah, they controlled what was being taught, didn't they? Okay, I'm going to read this one again, and then I want one last verse before we go forward. So, I also gave them up to laws that were not good, and right rulings by which they would not live, and I defiled them by their own gifts. They still had gifts from Yah, but he defiled them by their own gifts, as they passed all their firstborn through the fire. We're going to read about that today. Their children were their gifts, so that I might stun them, so that they know that I am Yahuwah. And guys, what Ezekiel is talking about here, Yah scattering the house of Israel all over the world, that's happened. We're everywhere. And today we're seeing an awakening and a calling, and the people are hearing Yah's voice. I posted today on my Facebook page something from Isaac Hackman, and he is from the Assembly of Called Out Believers, and it is called The Great Awakening.
It's a good study. I was listening to that.
It's a very good study. I recommend that live streamers, I'm recommending that all of you please take the time to watch this, because if you will, you're going to learn so much from him. It is.
You gotta watch and it's not here.
Yeah, you could just listen to it. You don't even have to. Well, there's nothing to watch. It's not even a visual. It's only audio. So I recommend that everybody listen to him. This young man is so talented, and he has been teaching Torah since he was 12 years old. Guess who he's teaching Torah to? The Gentiles, to the house of Ephraim. And guys, listen, that's who we were. But once you come into this walk, you are no longer a Gentile. There's not a Gentile gate to the kingdom. Well, listen, you're not getting to the kingdom anyway. That's what we're going to see here, is that without being obedient, you're not getting in there. I'm sorry about your luck, but you're not. Okay, this is heartbreaking, and this is where most of us are with our families, is we have reached out, we've dropped hints, we pray that by our walk, they're going to want to pursue truth. They're going to want to seek out the truth of the Word. But I want you to hear me, guys. It's not up to us. Go to John 6:44. As much as we love them, as much as we want them walking beside our side, right, Bonnie?
Yes, ma'am.
We want them right there with us, walking this walk. Because I'm going to tell you something. The obedience to His commandments has been the most freeing thing. Dennis, what does the Torah do to each one of us?
It blesses us, it protects us and keeps us safe, and it's what changes us into the inside.
Isn't that beautiful? Who wouldn't want that? Who in their right mind wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't choose that over the laws of men? I'm serious when I say that. The laws of Yah are light and they're simple. They bless you, they protect you, and by walking out His commandments, it turns you into a resemblance of our Messiah, Yahusha. So John 6:44, and it is on page 1029. No one is able to come to me, and this is our Savior, Yahusha, also called Yeshua. There are many names. Yahshua, Yeshua, Yahusha, Jesus is who they're talking about, but not really Jesus. Because just like distorting of the Sabbath, the Roman Catholic Church distorted the name and twisted it into the lawless one. Jesus is very Greek God, okay? Has nothing to do with our Messiah. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last days, as it has been written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by Yahuwah. Everyone then who has heard from the Father and learned comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father except him who is from Elohim. He has seen the Father. Who's from Elohim? Yahusha, His Son. So no one else has seen Him. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me possesses everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Listen, guys, if you believe, you're going to be obedient. Just follow suit. Belief is an action word.
Belief has been so misunderstood, and it's just, I think, the thought has been given to us that it's just, I know who He is in my mind. I have an understanding of who He is. That word believe is much, much deeper, like it's an action word. And it's not taken that far. We're indoctrinated to, all you got to do is just know who He is, and that's it.
Who else knows who He is, Valerie?
Hasatan.
Hasatan. Is that going to save Hasatan in the end?
No.
No. Listen, even Hasatan knows the words, the scriptures.
He knows them better than sometimes we do.
He knows Yahusha. He knows He is the Son of Yah. He knows He's our Redeemer. Not going to save him. Why? Because He's the father of lies and the father of rebellion. Rebellion and the stubbornness of our own heart is what carries us to the place of disobedience. And guys, that's what happened to Nadab and Abihu that we're fixing to talk about right now. They weren't being obedient to Yah's commands. They brought strange fire before Yah, and possibly some other things that they did wrong. They may have been unclean when they came before Him. We don't know. When we get to the kingdom, we'll know, won't we? Okay, so now, let's start on our Torah portion. Do we have any? Does anybody want to add anything? Say anything more about what we've already spoken about? Charles, do you have anything?
No, man.
Timothy? No? Jerome? Of course.
Well, I'm looking at how righteousness or wisdom, more like it, Lady Wisdom. You know how we should be led by her and seek her. And then there's also Lady Folly, who leads you astray into sin, into temptations, into even leading the strong and the righteous, you know, from being righteous and strong. So
Yeah.
you definitely gotta be humble-hearted and seek only what is right and correct. Because if we stay seeking after our own hearts, we're gonna be chasing after, you know, this destruction and hurt and consequences.
And what does Jeremiah tell us about our heart?
It's evil above all things.
It's evil above all things. And so, guys, you know, what you were saying about Yah, I want us to look at one other place real quick, and then we'll go on into our Torah portion. But look at Deuteronomy 28:20. Because when you're not following Torah, when you're not being obedient, when you're not doing what he tells you to do, Yah sends all these plagues on you, right? I mean, he tells us, I set before you today life and death. Choose life. Live it to its fullest. In Deuteronomy 28:20, this is one of the plagues. And let me go up to 15. Look at 15 real quick. It says, and it shall be if you do not obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, to guard to do all his commands and his laws, which I command you today, that all of these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. They're going to come on you so fast, they're just going to bowl you down. You'd be like a bowling pin, just knocked down. Now, go straight down to 20. Yahweh sends on you the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke in all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. If you're doing anything contrary to the Torah, that is a curse that will come upon you. How much confusion are we seeing in the world today, guys? Oh my goodness, it's like everywhere. Okay, let's get into the Torah portion. 16 is going to be a lot about Yom Kippur and Azazel. A name that in some of the Jewish writings they say Azazel is actually a place. We're going to go into Enoch and we're going to find out what Enoch said, because y'all know who Azazel is. It's actually an entity. And 17 is going to be talking about don't eat the blood. And where the slaughterings, it's really kind of calling in how the slaughterings are done. 18 is where we're going to see if you do his commands, you're going to live by them. You're going to live. So let's get started, and we are going to read all of 16, parts of 17, and parts of 18, and then we're going to go into some other scriptures. Okay. Let me see here. Charles, you want to start us out? In 16:1.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe after the death of the two sons of Aaron, as they drew near before Yahweh and died. And Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to Aaron, your brother, not to come in at all times to the set-apart place inside the veil, before the Lily of Atonement, which is on the ark, lest he die, because I appear in the cloud above the Lily of Atonement. With this, Aaron should come into the set-apart place with the blood of a young bull as a sin offering, and a ram as an ascending offering. He should put on the set-apart linen long shirt with linen trousers on his flesh, and gird himself with a linen girdle, and be dressed with a linen turban. They are set-apart garments, and he shall bathe his body in water, and shall put them on.
So Charles, in verse 3, before he can even draw near to Yah, what is he saying do? Basically, okay, so he's coming with a sin offering and an ascending offering. So repent and draw near. So repent and draw near to me. And that's what he's really saying to Aaron. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going until you go all the way down through 9.
And from the congregation of the children of Israel, he takes 2 male goats as a sin offering, and 1 ram as a ascending offering. And Aaron shall bring the bull as a sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and let them stand before Yahweh at the door of the tent of appointment. And Aaron shall cast lots for the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahweh and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall bring the goat on which the lot for Yahweh fell, and shall prepare it as a sin offering.
Okay, so right there, I mean, you're making an offering for Yah and one for Azazel. So you can tell this is not a place or a destination. It is an entity, right? It's something else. Okay, we're going to go ahead and read through this because I want you to see the Azazel and goat and what all is done here, because this is performed on Yom Kippur. And what day is Yom Kippur and what is it all about?
Day of Atonement.
It's the Day of Atonement. This is the most holy day of the year, is the Day of Atonement. What day is it?
It's the only day of the year that the priest goes inside the most part.
It's the holiest day. It's the only day that the high priest enters the Holy of Holies. What day is it?
Nobody knows the day or the hour.
It's the 7th month and the 10th day. So it's the 10th day of the 7th month is when this Yom Kippur is going to be celebrated. So it's the holiest day of the month, and it's right after the first day of the 7th month, which is what? Yom Teruah. Yom Teruah, the announcing of the king. It's a 2-day festival. So the announcing of the king. Listen, all 4 of the first festivals that you will find in Leviticus 23 have been fulfilled by what? Our Savior's first coming. And the last 3 will be fulfilled by what? His return. It is beautiful. So we have the announcing of the king, the days leading up to the Day of Atonement, then the Day of Atonement, and what comes after that? Shavuot. No, Sukkot. Sukkot. 2 S words. Boy, did I mess that up. Sukkot. When we go finally one day into the eternity of living in the kingdom with him, and I pray that I'm included in that.
8th day.
The 8th day, Shemini Azarat.
What a glorious day that will be.
It will be.
But we've got to get ready for it. We've got to be on that path to be able to get to the door.
And guys, we don't want to go there alone, do we? I mean, this is why. Listen, live streamers. Hi, Atif. May Yahusha love you as well. This is why we have a live stream. It's because we're trying to reach as many people as we can. We're a tiny little group, but we're truth seekers, and the whole purpose behind us being live streaming is to seek those who don't know, because that's where our heart is for.
So was the nation of Israel. It was the smallest nation.
Oh, that's so true.
And he wanted his power to be shown through that little bitty nation, not the nation.
I like that comparison, Valerie. That is really neat. I like that. Okay, we're going to go into the Azazel goat. In Leviticus 16, verse 10, but the goat on which the lot for Azazel fell is caused to stand alive before Yahuwah to make atonement upon it, to send it into the wilderness to Azazel. And Aharon shall bring the bull of the sin offering, for which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house, and shall slay the bull as a sin offering, which is for himself. And shall take the fire holder filled with burning coals of fire from the slaughter place before Yahweh, with his hands filled with sweet incense, beaten fine, and shall bring it inside the veil. He's going into the Holy of Holies. Wouldn't you love to see that in there? And he shall put the incense on the fire before Yahweh, and the cloud of incense shall cover the lid of atonement, which is on the witness, lest he die. Excuse me. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it with his finger on the lid of atonement on the east side. Also in front of the lid of atonement, he sprinkles some of the blood, which is his finger, 7 times. So he's sprinkling it on what? The ark of the covenant, right? The seat. It's actually built like a chair where Yah would be sitting, where his presence would be found, right? And he shall slay the goat of the sin offering, which is for the people, and shall bring its blood inside the veil, and shall do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bull, and sprinkle it on the lid of atonement, and in front of the lid of atonement. And he shall make atonement for the set-apart place because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions and all their sins. And so he does for the tent of appointment, which is dwelling with them in their midst of their uncleanness. So even as hard as they're trying to follow the Torah, what's evil? Our heart, our thoughts, right? I mean, as hard as I work at it, sometimes I just ask God to take my heart and my brain and give me His, right? So I can think like Him and love like Him, because we're fleshly and we have issues. Some of us more than others. And no man shall be in the tent of appointment when he goes in to make atonement in the set apart place until he comes out, and he shall make atonement for himself and for his household and for the assembly of Yisrael. And he shall go out to the slaughter place that is before Yahweh and make atonement for it. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and some of the blood of the goat and put it on the horns of the slaughter place all around. And he shall sprinkle some of the blood on it with his finger 7 times and cleanse it and set it apart from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And we're going to see, guys, when we get to Hebrews, that everything is cleansed with what? The blood. Almost everything is cleansed through the blood. And when he has finished atoning for the set apart place in the tent of appointment and the slaughter place, he shall bring the living goat. Now the living goat is the one that's been chosen for who? Azazel. The lots have been cast, and he's been chosen for Azazel. And then Aharon shall lay both of his hands on the head of the live goat, and he shall confess over it all of the crookedness of the children of Israel, all of their transgressions, and all their sins, and shall put them on the head of the goat, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a fit man. And the goat shall bear on itself all their crookedness to a land cut off. Thus shall he send the goat away into the wilderness. And I do believe that this is where the term scapegoat came from. This was their scapegoat. They sent this goat full of their sins out into the wilderness, into Azazel. And I've got a little article, excuse me, like 2 seconds. Hold this up, and then forgot to pick it up and put it over here. So this is really concerning the Azazel. But before we go there, I want us to go to Enoch 10. And we're going to be reading, oh, that could have been a catastrophe. We're going to be reading out of Stephen Pidgeon's Et Sefer. And we're going to Enoch 10. I love the book of Enoch. It is really, really a good study. Here's Jubilees. 321 in the Et Sefer. Their chapters are so small.
Yes.
In chapter 10, verse 6. Again, Yahweh said to Raphael, bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and opening the desert, which is, cast him into darkness, and opening the desert, which is in Duda-El, cast him in there. Throw upon him hurled and pointed stones, covering him with darkness, and there shall he remain forever. Cover his face that he may not see light, and in the great day of judgment let him be cast into the fire. So he is there, Azazel is there, until the day of judgment. Restore the earth which the angels have corrupted, and announce life to it, that I may revive it. Thus all the sons of men shall not perish in consequence of every secret by which the watchers have destroyed, which they have taught their offspring. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the teaching of Azazel, and to him therefore ascribe the whole crime. So guys, look back at 8 of Enoch 8:1. Here's some of the things that Azazel was teaching men. And Azazel was one of the fallen angels, one of the 200 of the fallen angels who came down to earth. And what did they do when they came to earth? They mated with the females.
Yeah.
They mated with not just humans. They mated with all the animals and the creatures. They mated with everything. They distorted and defiled everything that Yah had created. So they were trying to become little gods by creating their own little creatures, right? Okay, in 8:1, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint, the beautifying of the eyebrows, stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all of their ways. So Azazel was described really, he was being treated way worse than the rest of these fallen angels. The rest of them were just locked away, I think in Antarctica. The description sounds like Antarctica until the end of days, but not Azazel. He's buried in the desert with pointed stones hurled and tossed on his face, which sounds gruesome, doesn't it?
He deserved it.
Valerie's like, he deserved it. We probably all deserve it, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, so the interesting thing is that the Azazel goat, once it was led by a fit man out into the wilderness, you don't see Yah here instruct them to kill the goat, but they would carry this goat out into the wilderness, and he had to be fit because he carried him far, far away, left the goat, and guess what would happen? The goat would come back home. Well, what's on his head? All the sins. Well, their sins just came walking back into camp. So they started carrying the goat to a ledge, and they would push him off backwards and make sure that he didn't come walking back. For up until 40 years prior to the destruction of Jerusalem, they would tie a red ribbon around the door to the set-apart place. The red ribbon, once Yom Kippur was over, would turn white. And it was signaling purity. But guess what? 40 years before the destruction of Jerusalem by Rome, it stopped turning white. What happened 40 years prior to the destruction of Jerusalem? It was destroyed in 70 AD. Yahusha died on the cross for our sins. After that, never turned. There was unrepented sin there, guys. So it never turned white or pure again. And I was actually going to read all that to you. This article is, I'm going to tell you where it is. Why didn't the red ribbon on the head of the scapegoat turn white in 30 CE? So if you want to look it up, you can. It's a really good article. And you can find lots of information online about the Azazel goat and the ceremony. But it is really, really fascinating. Okay, 22. And Dennis, you want to read starting in 22 through 28? I'm going to take that as a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Valerie, is he online? Is he on screen?
Yes.
Okay.
And the goat shall bear on itself all their crookednesses to a land cut off. Thus he shall send the goat away into the wilderness. Aharon shall then come into the tent of appointment, shall take off the linen garments which he had put on, and went to the set-apart place, and shall leave them there. And he shall bathe his body in water in the set-apart place, and shall put on his garments, and shall come out and prepare his ascending offering, and the ascending offering of the people, and make atonement for himself and for the people, and burn the fat of the sin offering on the slaughter place. And he who sends away the goat to Azazel washes his garments, and shall bathe his body in water, and afterward he comes into the tent. And the bull for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the set-apart place, is brought outside the camp, and they shall burn their skins and their flesh in the dung of fire. And he who brings them washes his garments, and shall bathe his body in water. Afterward he comes into the camp. How far do you want me to go?
To right there, and I'm going to get Tiff. Would you read the rest of it for us? Let me turn. Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to make y'all dizzy.
And this shall be for you a law forever. On the 7th new moon, on the 10th day of the new moon, you afflict your beings and do no work, the native nor the stranger who sojourns among you. For on that day he makes atonement for you, to cleanse you, to be clean from all your sins before Yahweh. It is Sabbath of rest for you, and you shall afflict your beings a law forever. And the priest who is anointed and ordained to serve as priest in his father's place shall make atonement, and shall put on linen garments and set apart garments. And he shall make atonement for the most set apart place, and make atonement for the tent of appointment, and for the slaughter place, and make atonement for the priests, and for all the people of the assembly. And this shall be for you a law forever, to make atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
Okay, really, I think we should go to Hebrews right now. Hebrews 9, because I want you to see this is what Yahusha did for us. It's what he did for who? The house of Israel. So everybody should want to be the house of Israel. Go to Hebrews 9, 11 through 28. And this is on page 1172. But Messiah, having become a high priest of the coming good matters through the greater and more perfect tent, not made with hands, that is not of this creation, entered into the most set apart place once for all, and not with the blood of goats and calves, but with his own blood, having obtained everlasting redemption. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer, sprinkling the defiled, sets apart for the cleansing of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of the Messiah, who through the everlasting Spirit offered himself unblemished to Elohim, cleanse your conscience from the dead works to serve the living Elohim. Dead works would be anything that's not Torah, right? Mm-hmm. So our Messiah became our high priest, and that's who he is right now, right? Right? But it says he became that. When? After his death. Okay, and because of this, and I'm in 15, because of this, he is the mediator of a renewed covenant, so that death having taken place for redemption of the transgressions under the first covenant, those who are called might, I really messed that up. Let me go back. Let me read this part again. And because of this, he is the mediator of a renewed covenant, so that death, having taken place for redemption of the transgressions under the first covenant, those who are called might receive the promise of the everlasting inheritance. All are called, but how many answer that call, guys? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he is there, but listen, while he was on the earth, was he a high priest? No. When he comes back to earth, is he going to be a high priest? Look on the opposite page and look at 8, verse 4. Let's look at 3. For every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and slaughters, so it was necessary for this one to have somewhat to offer, which was his own blood, right? For if indeed he were on earth, he would not be a priest, since there are priests who offer the gifts according to the Torah, who serve a copy and a shadow of the heavenly, as Moshe was warned when he was about to make the tent. For he said, see that you make all according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. The pattern of the tabernacle, that Yahusha is the high priest, guys, but when he comes back to earth, who's going to be performing the priestly task? The Zadok priests, which are in the lineage of Eleazar, which came from Aharon. And who else is in Eleazar's? Pinchas. Phineas, the one who was gung-ho. Look at Matthew 7, 4, 14 maybe. 7, 5, something. We may have to look at both of them. Yeah, which one's the best one? Matthew 7. It's going to be 14. In 14, because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, there are few who find it. Guys, and this is why you see over here, when he says in verse 15, so that those who are called might receive the promise of the everlasting inheritance. They're going to get it because of their obedience, right? Because what does Revelation 22? Revelation 22:14. I'm going to read this really quick. Blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life. And this is the important part, and to enter through the gates into the city. If you want to get into the gates of the kingdom, you're going to have what? Anyone? Obedience? That's what it means to be doing his commands. It's to be obedient to his commandments. Okay.
Let me read Matthew 19:17.
Please do.
Well, under 16. And see, one came and said to him, Good teacher, what good shall I do to have everlasting life? And he said to him, Why do you call me good? No one is good except one, Elohim. But if you wish to enter into life, guard the commandments.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
It means be obedient and do what he says in his commandments.
That's right. That's it.
I mean,
So, where do we find those commandments? In Exodus
Exodus
20. Yeah,
And Deuteronomy 5.
that's it. In Deuteronomy 5. There you go. So, two places in where? The Tanakh, the Old Testament that everyone calls today. You don't find Yahusha spouting them out. Why? Everybody knew them.
That's right.
They were all doing them. Where are we today? No one's doing them. No one. In fact, they've ripped them off the walls of the courthouses. Why? Because they're not following them anyway.
Some denominations has taken out the second one. The second of the Ten Commandments.
Yes. Yes, they have.
Don't need it. Don't want to do it.
Okay. Valerie, since you're there, you want to continue reading in Hebrews through 28?
Hebrews what?
16 through 9, 16 through 28.
Just a minute. Okay.
That's on
Hebrews
page
2, 16. Okay.
Hebrews 9.
Hebrews 9.
Uh-huh. It's on page 1173.
Okay.
I bet
what
Hebrews
verse?
2 is good too, though.
Okay.
16 through 28.
Okay, here we go. No, I was there. For where a covenant is, it is necessary for the death of the covenanted one to be established. For a covenant over those dead is firm, since it is never valid while the covenanted one is living. Therefore, not even the first covenant was instituted without blood. For when, according to Torah, every command had been spoken to Moshe, to all the people, he took the blood of the calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the covenant which Elohim commanded you. And in the same way he sprinkled with blood both the tent and all the vessels of the service. And according to the Torah, almost all is cleansed with blood. And without shedding of blood there is no forgiveness. It was necessary then that the copies of the heavenly ones should be cleansed with these, but the heavenly ones themselves with better slaughter offering than these. For Messiah has not entered into a set-apart place made by hand, figures of the true, but into the heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim on our behalf. How far you can go?
To the end.
Okay. Not that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the set-apart place year by year with blood, not his own. For if so, he would have had to suffer often since the foundation of the world. But now he has appeared once for all at the end of the ages to put away sin by the offering of himself. And as it awaits men to die once, and after this the judgment, so also the Messiah, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, shall appear a second time, apart from sin, to those waiting for him unto deliverance.
Okay, so guys, listen. We have to have Yahusha in order to enter into the kingdom, because he is that door. He tells us, I'm the door. I'm the only way that you can get into the throne room of my Father. I'm the way you have to get there. You want to see my Father? You have to go through me. What gets us to the gate? The Torah. That is our walk. We walk out the Torah all the way to the gate, which is our Messiah. And once we get there,
Now apparently his blood has to be flowing through us.
yes, his blood does have to be flowing. Guys, look at Matthew 7, because I want to show you something. Okay, let's see. Matthew 7. Okay, I'm going to start at 14, but I'm going to keep going. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few that find it, very few. But beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit, and a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. It's going to burn up, right?
Yep.
So then, by their fruits, you shall know them. This should scare the daylights out of you, okay? Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. What does it mean if you're working lawlessness? Torahlessness. It is Torahlessness. It is exactly what Valerie said. You're not following Torah. Guys, that walk, that obedience is what will get you to the place. Listen, you're not getting into the kingdom without our Savior. You have to have the obedience to the commandments. What was the verse you quoted earlier, Jerome? The obedience of the commandments that Moshe delivered unto us, and the testimony of our Messiah. These are the two things you're going to have to get into the kingdom.
Revelation
12:17, and it's also in 14. It's in 14:12, I think.
And it's in the Old Testament, and I had it. I did not, but I don't remember what. You got it.
Revelation 12:17. He
Read
went.
it.
I've got it right here. I'm going to read it real quick because I'm trying to get us done because we're trying to get through it. He went to fight. I'm in 12:17, and the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, thus guarding the commandments of Elohim and possessing the witness of Yahusha, Messiah. Guys, who's the enemy of Hasatan? Those who are obedient to the testimony that Moshe gave us, the commandments, and those who are relying on the testimony of our Messiah to get into the gate. Those who have his testimony and are obedient. Those are the enemy of Hasatan.
It's also in Revelations 1:2.
1:2 and in 14:12. Hold on to 1:2. I'm going to get you to read it. In 14:12 it says, "Here is the endurance of the set apart ones. Here are those guarding the commandments of Elohim and the belief of Messiah." Got to have both, guys. And we're going to see. We miss you too, Seth.
So Revelation 1:2. Who bore witness to the word of Elohim and the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach to all he saw. So this is pretty much a revelation of Messiah from God, and he's going to reveal that he has the witness of the word of Elohim, and he has the witness of our Savior, Yahusha HaMashiach.
So, in order to have the witness of Moshe, it would have to be the obedience, right? The obedience. Okay, let's go back to Leviticus. We're going to skim through 17. So, guys, this is all about blood. It's about don't eat the blood, don't slaughter. When you're doing slaughterings, the slaughterings have to take place where? At the door of the tent of appointment, right? 17:1. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to Aaron, to his sons, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, This is a word which Yahweh has commanded, saying, a man from the house of Israel who slays a bull or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or who slays it outside the camp, and does not bring it to the door of the tent of appointment to bring an offering to Yahweh before the dwelling place of Yahweh, blood guilt is reckoned on that man, and he has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. Now, does cut off mean you're just going to be, see you later, alligator, you're not coming back in the camp? What does that mean? What does it mean to be cut off? You're ousted from the camp, but it's for a set period of time. It's until you straighten up and do things the way Yah has commanded. So guys, what would be the problem with just killing anywhere and everywhere? First of all, are we not supposed to give part of it to the priest? The priest get a portion of it. If you're slain outside the camp or wherever you are, you're not bringing anything to the priest.
That's only the domesticated. If it's an animal like a wild deer, you can do that.
Yes, outside the gates, if you're slaying a deer or an antelope, anything that is considered food, yes, you have to cover the blood, and we're going to hit that in a second. So all of the rules for what you're slaughtering, it would be considered a peace offering, and they would do all of the ritual the same as they would do anything else for the domesticated animals. Really, it's the clean animals that are used for the rituals. They're ritual animals. So you will be cut off, and here we go. In verse 10 of 17, and any man of the house of Israel, or of the strangers who sojourn among you, who eats any blood, I shall set my face against that being who eats blood, and shall cut him off from amongst his people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. And Valerie, you were...
Okay, I'm just now putting this all together.
Okay, I'm going to finish this one. I was going to say, I want you to talk. Help you to remember. Boy. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the slaughter place to make atonement for your lives. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the life. Okay, for the soul.
Okay, it's the blood of Yahusha that should be flowing through us.
Yes.
And that's from the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. So it's saying here, we should not eat. So when you're eating the blood of something else, you're contaminating. You're contaminating your
Yes.
blood. You're taking it in.
It's the life of some other being.
And
Yes.
it's the blood of Yeshua that should be flowing through us.
Yes.
And for his blood to be flowing through us, we've got to have the Ruach HaKodesh. We've got to be obedient, because he can't look upon sin.
Yes.
So it all goes around, that we have to be striving to do what's right for his blood to be flowing through us. And if we put something else that's not of him, it's going to contaminate. It's going to contaminate his blood that should be flowing through us.
That is really, that's a revelation
I didn't
there.
hear it. I just thought.
There's life in the blood.
And it says that in Ezekiel 16:6, I think it talks about. I think that's what it is.
Pull that up, Valerie. Okay,
Yes.
so for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it unto you for the slaughter place to make atonement for your lives, for it is the blood that makes atonement for the life. Okay, Valerie, go ahead.
It's in Ezekiel 16:6. I'm going to start with 4. I don't know how. It's for your birth. On the day you were born, your navel part was not cut, nor even you washed in water for cleansing, and you were not rubbed with salt at all, nor wrapped in cloth at all. No eye felt sorry for you to do any of those for you, to have compassion on you, but you were thrown out in the open field to the loathing of your life on the day you were born. Then I passed by you and saw you trampled down in your own blood, and I said to you in your blood, live. And I said to you in your blood, live.
Wow. So,
The blood is for us to live. I mean, to live refers to eternal life, usually.
yes.
So it's his blood that's got to be flowing through us. And there's, it doesn't just happen. His blood just doesn't come and we get a transfusion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of controversy concerning transfusions because the life is in the blood. So there are many people who won't take a blood transfusion because of that. Huh?
This is our transfusion.
Yeah, our transfusion is the word. Okay, in verse 12. Therefore I said to the children of Israel, no being among you eats blood, nor does any stranger who sojourns among you eat blood. And any man from the children of Israel, or from the strangers who sojourn among you, who hunts and catches any beast or bird, and this is what you were talking about, Joram, which is eaten, shall pour out its blood and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh, its blood is for its life. And I said to the children of Israel, do not eat the blood of any flesh, for life of all flesh is in its blood. Anyone eating it is cut off. Valerie, would you read Genesis 4:10, and I'm going to pull up Jubilees 4. 4:10.
Genesis 4:10. And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand.
So the blood is speaking. It is crying out. So you are taking that life for sin. The life is in the blood. So here we are in Jubilees, and we're in 4, and I'm going to read 6 through 14. And for this reason we announce when we come before Yahuwah Eloheinu all the sin which is committed in heaven and on earth, and in light and in darkness, and everywhere. And Adam and his woman mourned for Havel 4 weeks of years. That's a long time. And in the 4th year of the 5th week, they became joyful. And Adam knew his woman again, and she bore him. I've got the wrong verse here. My apologies, because this was really good. I've got the wrong. Sorry, this happens. No, don't say anything, Bill. Be nice. This happens occasionally. Yep, I'll have to find it because it was really a good verse. I was like, man, this is so good. And I lost it. Okay, praise Yah. Yes, thank you, Prakash. Okay, we're in 18, and we are going to read in chapter 18. We are going to read 1 through 8, and then we're going to read 18:21. 18, verse 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Do not do as they do in the land of Mitzrayim, where you dwell, and do not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you, and do not walk in their laws. Do my right rulings and guard my laws to walk in them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, and you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahweh. Guys, this is what we went over in the very beginning. Do his commands and you will live by them. Don't do them and you will die. Which means that once you get to the judgment seat, there's a separation of the sheep and the goats. The sheep are obeying the shepherd, right? What do the goats do? They run amok, right? The goats are going to go into the fire. They're going to be burned up.
Butting their heads.
That's right. They are going to be butting their heads.
You said he comes to divide. He's really going to divide.
There's going to be a huge division at that time. There is. My prayer is all of our loved ones that we really love and cherish, that they will be waking up, and that
Be quickened to that.
they will be quickened. Okay, so you shall guard my law, my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahuwah. No one is to approach anyone of his own flesh to uncover his nakedness. I am Yahweh. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you do not uncover. She is your mother, and you do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you do not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. Now this can go straight back to Genesis 9:21 through 27. Who uncovered Noah's nakedness? Ham. And Noah, because he loved his son Ham, didn't curse Ham. He cursed Ham's youngest son. Who? Canaan. But we could go back there, but this is what he's referring to. The nakedness of a man is his wife's nakedness. Okay? The whole rest of 18 down to 21 deals with the nakedness of any of your family members, or even your distant family members. You do not uncover it. Men, these men who are hurting little children in their family, shame on you. Shame on you. And you got rules here. Don't do it.
And that causes such a problem, in other words, with this child, because they're affected by that very deeply, and it's hard to for a child to be able to recover. I mean, they can, but the enemy knows that, and he
Yes.
starts with young children. And
They're traumatized.
yeah,
There's a trauma there, and
it
guys,
is
listen.
trauma.
There has to be a forgiveness. And how hard is it for a child that's been molested to have to turn around and forgive when it wasn't their fault? They done nothing. They did nothing to deserve this, and they have to turn around and forgive and let go. I mean, you've got to do it, or the trauma is gonna hang there for a long time.
And it creates other problems.
It does.
And the
So
enemy knows that.
the enemy does know it, because he's the reason it happened. He is evil. He's the father of all lies. Okay, 18:21. Do not give any of your offspring to pass through to Molech. Oi, here we go. To pass through Molech, and do not profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh, and do not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. I want to stop for just a moment, because I want us to go back to this. Do not allow your offspring to pass through to Molech. What was happening back in those days?
They were sacrificing their babies.
Their firstborn babies, their children. They were sacrificing them to Molech, which was an idol. Look at 1 Kings 11. Excuse me, 1 Kings 11. Guys, who else was doing this? Who else did this? It was a king. He was the smartest man. Y'all gave him great wisdom. Shlomo. 1 Kings 11, 1 through 14. And Sovereign Shlomo, which is Solomon, loved many foreign women in addition to the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Zidonian, Hittite women from the nations of whom Yahuwah had said to the children of Israel, you do not go into them, and they do not go into you, for they shall certainly turn away your hearts after their mighty ones. And Shlomo, Solomon, clung to these in love. And he had 700 wives. They were all princesses. And 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Guys, these women were very pampered women. It's not like you having like 2 wives. These are princesses. They have been spoiled, right? They're little princesses.
High maintenance women.
I wasn't going to say that, but Jerome said they're high maintenance women. He had 700 high maintenance women, spoiled little divas that he was having to cater to. And it came to be when Shlomo was old that his wives turned away his heart after the other mighty ones, and his heart was not perfect with Yahuwah, his Elohim, as was the heart of his father David. And Shlomo went after Asherah, the mighty one of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Then thus Shlomo did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and did not follow Yahuwah completely like his father David. Then Shlomo built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem. Do you know where that is? It's the Mount of Olives. He built it on the Mount of Olives. And for Molech the abomination of the children of Ammon. And so he did for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and slaughtered to their mighty ones. Therefore Yahweh was enraged with Shlomo, because his heart had turned away from Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this word, not to go after other mighty ones, but he did not guard what Yahweh had commanded him. And Yahweh said to Shlomo, because you have done this and have not guarded my covenant and my laws which I have commanded you, I shall certainly tear the rain away from you. Guys, listen, what was happening at all of these places that Shlomo erected? What were they slaughtering?
Child sacrifices.
They were sacrificing Shlomo's firstborn children, or his children.
That's a lot of children.
That's a lot of kids, 700 at least.
How can he be the wisest man?
He got old, and guess what? Lured him away. Valerie?
Okay, here we are. The firstborn being sacrificed to Molech in the physical.
Yes.
It's a spiritual thing too.
Yes.
He should be teaching them the laws of the Torah of Yahuwah.
Listen.
And so what's happening? It's being diverted to these pagan gods. I mean,
And everybody
physical-
follows the king.
Right.
That he wasn't the only one. They're going to follow their king. The king's doing it must be right. Where the king should have been writing his own, and I'm sure that Shlomo did. He wrote his own Torah. He copied the Torah and kept it. He knew the Torah. He had it in his possession. He should have been turning and teaching
But
and being a light
but
and an
because-
example.
but because he got with the
Foreign women.
foreign women, the spirit was gone. So he sacrificed his firstborn children in the physical as well as in the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
The spiritual of the Torah wasn't passed on.
None of it was. Yeah, it was all broken.
And it was because he didn't, I can't get the fullness of it, but something there.
First of all, he broke y'all's command not to intermarry with these
Exactly.
people. That was the first, because the two become what? One. You don't want to become one with someone that y'all said don't even go into them. Yes, sir.
It boggles my mind how, since a young child, he was brought up in Torah. You know
Yes.
what I mean? He did have Torah in his heart. He wrote a lot of books
Mhm.
regarding all his wisdom that he acquired from Torah. And then at the end, like I guess such scriptures says, even the elect are deceived. You know?
Yes, and that's a good point, Jerome. But what happens when we get older too? We kind of lose. Not everyone. Valerie's one of them.
Thank you.
But some older people, you see them, and they've kind of lost their ability to communicate, to think through, and he's got this 700 divas going, honey, let's do this, honey, let's do that, honey, go buy me a new car, I want a new ring,
Made
give
you
me,
feel young.
yeah, and so
Midlife crisis.
It passed that.
he was way past the midlife crisis.
But that shows you how easily you can be doing so well with Yahuwah, and if you're not following him exactly the way he says with his commandments, look what happens.
That is right. That is right.
That's crazy because Abraham didn't even have children until he was like 80.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was a really, really late bloomer, and he still kept very faithful for a long time.
He did. Yes, sir?
You say you disagree.
Oh, I said he was 100. He was 80 when he circumcised. 100 for the babies.
Yeah,
You're right.
That was never good.
that's old.
But he's still old. The point.
He was old. 80's not that old though. 100's not that old.
He got along pretty well because he still went to war and stuff.
He was out fighting. He sure was. Okay, let's finish up this, and then we're going to read Amos, and then I've got something in John we're going to read, and then we're going to be done. But you shall guard my laws. We're in Leviticus 18, verse 26. You shall guard my laws and my right rulings, and not do any of these abominations, the native nor stranger who sojourns among you, because the man of the land who are before you have done all these abominations, and thus the land became defiled. Guys, our actions defile the land that we're living in. Think about how defiled this country is.
We talked about that last night because every 7 years you're supposed to give the land a rest.
Yes.
So the land is very important to take care of it.
Mhm.
We came from the dirt. So we were talking about it last night.
But I mean, our actions, and I'm not talking about just farming, our sins defile the land.
Make it sick, it vomited him out.
Yeah.
Think about how sick it is today.
Even the
You're
rains
right.
will fail when we act properly.
Yes. So in 28,
Well,
so
look what's happened up there to the corn in the northern. Just this year, it was hundreds of miles.
it soaked and rotted.
Exactly. So that's defilement of the land.
Guys, that's happening worldwide. The food is being destroyed. So let not the land vomit you out for defiling it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. For whoever does any of these abominations, those beings who do them shall be cut off from amongst their people, and you shall guard my charge, so as not to do any of these abominable laws which were done before you, so as not to defile yourselves by them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. He is a father of covenant, is he not? Go to John 14:15. We're going to read this, and then we're going to read Amos, and then we're going to go eat. I love John. Good job. Okay, John 14:15. If you love me, who's speaking? Our Savior, Yahusha. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. Wow. Does that sound like he's done away with anything, guys? If you love me, you shall guard my commands. Be willing to fight for my commands. Treat them like they're something precious and special, and guard them. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever. The Spirit of the truth, the Spirit of Yahusha, guys. The Spirit of the truth, whom the world is unable to receive because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. I shall not leave you orphans. I am coming to you. His Spirit is coming to you, right? Yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me, but you shall see me, because I'll live, and you shall live. In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me, and he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. Yehuda, not the one from Kirioth, said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? And Yahusha answered and said, If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word. Guys, listen, the New Testament was not written for 150 years. These men did not have Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, and they had none of Shaul's writings. So what word is Yahusha talking about? The Torah, the prophets, and the writings. That's right. All of what we call the Old Testament, or the Tanakh. Yahusha answered, and he said, If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. Yes, I like that. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but of the Father who sent me. These words I have spoken to you while still with you, but the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you of all that I said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You heard that I said to you, I am going away and I am coming to you. If you did love me, you would have rejoiced that I said, I am going to the Father, for my Father is greater than I. It's quite a bold statement there, right? And now I have told you before it takes place, that when it does take place, you believe. I shall no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and he possesses none at all in me. But in order for the world to know that I love the Father, and that as the Father commanded me, so I am doing. Rise up and let us go from here. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. And this is 15:1. Every branch of me that bears no fruit, he takes away. A fruitless branch is going to be what? Cut off. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes so that it bears more fruit. He's going to cut it at a desirable spot so it branches out in both directions. It has more branches and it can bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. So the Torah also cleanses us and purifies us, right? That's pretty much what they're saying right here. Stay in me, and I stay in you. What if you don't stay in him? Does he stay in you? No, he does not. Stay in me. You have a choice, guys. We all have a choice. Once saved is not always saved. Stay in him. Who is him? He is the Word of Yah. So stay in him and he will stay in you. As the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself unless it stays in the vine, so neither you unless you stay in me. Listen, guys, unless we're in Yahusha, the fruit you're bearing is not of him. It's not righteous fruit. It's going to be unrighteous fruit. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who stays in me and I in him, he bears much fruit, because without me, you are able to do naught. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. So this is someone who was in him, was calling himself a Christian, and yet turned his back. Now, in the Christian world, they call it what?
Backslider.
A backslider. Here, Yahusha says you're a dead branch.
Yep.
He said, you aren't just a backslider and you're not still in me. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and they throw them into the fire and they are burned. In the end time, those dry branches are going to be cast into the fire, the lake of fire. What happens? They just burn up. They burn up. If you stay in me and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, that you bear much fruit, and you shall be my taught ones. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands and stay in his love. How did he guard his commands, guys? How did Yahusha guard his Father's commands? He did everything. In fact, he only did everything he saw the Father do. He only spoke everything he heard the Father speak. I wish we could get there. Very, very difficult. But he said, if you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands, and I stay in his love. These words I have spoken to you, so that my joy might be in you, and that your joy might be complete. Listen, this is the exact same word that he used, the word complete. This is the exact same words he used over in Matthew 5:16, when he said, I didn't come to destroy the Torah. I came to fulfill, to complete the Torah. Same thing. Does it mean that your joy is done away with? Stopped? No. Neither does it mean that the Torah was done away with or stopped. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. This is Leviticus 19:11, or 18, excuse me. No one has greater love than this, that one should lay down his life for his friends, and you are my friends if you do whatever I command you. You're my friend if you do what I tell you to do. What has he told us to do? His whole commandment. All 613 that apply to you. Guys, listen. This is your instruction manual. Learn it, study it, do it, protect it, and it's going to turn you into the image of him, so that when you arrive at that gate, at that door, he's going to look out and he's going to say, oh, there you are. You're one of my followers. You've been keeping the testimony of Yahusha, and you've been walking out the law of Moshe. That's what he's going to see. You're going to look like him. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends, for all teachings which I heard from my Father, I have made known to you. That is our Savior. He taught us everything that his Father taught him. He made them known to us. And let's finish up with Amos 9:7-15. And does anybody have anything to add here? It's on page 616 of the Scriptures Bible.
Well, he talks about staying in my love, and he defines love in 1 Corinthians 13, all the attributes of it.
All of it. He also says that your love is defined by staying in his commandments, by being obedient to his commandments. doing all my commandments. Okay, 9, 7 through 15. Tiffany.
You said 9 what?
9, 7 through 15.
You are not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Israel. Are you not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Israel, declares Yahweh? Did I not bring up Israel from the land of Mitzrayim, and the Philistines from
Kafir.
and Aram from
Kerr.
Look, the eyes of the Master Yahweh are on the sinful reign, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Yaakov, declares Yahweh. For look, I am commanding and shall shift the house of Israel among all the nations as one shifts with a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword, those who are saying, evil does not overtake us nor meet us. In that day I shall raise up the booth of David, which has fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches and raise up its ruins, and I shall build it as in the days of old, so that they possess the remnant of Edom, and all the nations on whom my name is called, declares Yahweh who does this. Look, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the shredder of grapes him who sows seed, and the mountains shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. And
When's that going to be, Tiffany? During the millennial? Listen to that. He's like, you can't even pick grapes fast enough, and the harvest is going to be ready again. I mean, there's going to be blessings during the millennial. Those who are living in it, these are days of blessings. Keep going down. This is not some of my favorite parts.
And I shall turn back the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them in their own soil, and not uproot them any more from their own soil I have given them, says Yahweh your Elohim.
And if you go to 1 Peter 2, 9 through 10, this is who he's talking to. You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set-apart nation, a people for possession, that you should proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, who once were not a people, but now the people of Elohim, who had not obtained compassion, but now obtained compassion. So he is talking to the children of Israel who are going to be coming into where? But listen, they're all going to be Israel. How do you get to the kingdom? Through one of the Israelite name gates, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't it beautiful? Mm-hmm. Okay, does anyone have questions? Anything to add? Guys, do y'all see how the Word of Yah does divide? It splits up. It splits friendships. It splits up families. And we need to pray for those that we have been split apart from. And pray that Yah calls them. Because unless they're called, unless they're called, there's nothing you can do. It's all in Yah's hands. We pray for them. We love them. We try to be a light for them, a guide for them, an example for them to watch. And past that point, it's in Yah's hands.
Well,
and they get to,
ready.
and they,
when they're ready for that call
yes,
to be heeded, and it's up to them to do it or not do it.
That's right. That is right. So, this has been I love the Torah portions when they don't have to do with leprosy and discharges, don't y'all?
Yes.
So listen, guys, we want to thank you all for joining us today. We're going to pray for you before we leave. And this afternoon, we what time is it really? Because I don't have the real time. 2:18 at about 2:45. We're going to come back and we're going to do the first book of Adam and Eve, and we're in chapter 46 through 55. And I just love that book. It's one of my favorites. But we want to thank you for joining us, Bill Bettle. We're so glad you're watching. we're going to come out to your place for Shavuot. Get ready. There'll be about 20 of us. We'll come. We'll bring our own food. Tell Lou not to worry. I don't think he's really watching. I think he's asleep. I think we put him to sleep. What do y'all think? Oh, Lou, Bonnie says she misses your tater salad. So, guys, let's pray. And Jerome, would you pray us out? Oh, perfect.
Yahuwah Tzilo, yes, thank you for this wonderful study. Thank you for just opening up our hearts. I pray that you open everybody's hearts that's listening on these live streams. I pray that you reach out and just bring them the truth, bring them life and blessings for them, so that they can be part of your Kodashim, your set apart ones, your Israel, your chosen nation. Ask that you just bless these foods we're about to consume. Bless everybody here. Bless those who are hungry, Father. Help them find the nourishment they need. Help us have the compassion to help those who need, Father. Also ask that you just watch my sister in Germany, protect her. I know she's having some problems, and I know you're hearing her, so just bring her heart towards you, to your Torah, to healing and to restoration. And also pray for my sister, and I pray for everybody's families here that's here with me, that we're restored in heart and in health and in spirit, so that we can better understand and better comprehend what you're telling us through your scripture, through your Ruach contradiction, so that we can not only hear it, but we can also do it. And then you wish you
Amen. Thank you so much. Guys, y'all can go ahead and I'm going to close this out here. Thank you again. May y'all bless you and keep you. And guys, we thank you for joining us today. As I say, we pray for you guys all the time. We love you, and we hope to see you back for the first book of Adam and Eve study this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
I guess Misty must not be coming.